for those of you that have been following me with some of the Gucci gun build that I've been building, I wanted to go through a couple of different rifle builds that I've done recently and just kind of give you some of the components that I have on them, the differences between them, why I chose what I chose, and so on and so forth. So we're going to give this a couple of minutes, let people join in. If you hear any noise right now, it's because it is absolutely pouring. As soon as I started the video, it started to open up, and we have a metal roof on the house, so it's absolutely pouring. I could probably have waited or started this over, but you know what? It is what it is. So we'll just wait for a couple more folks to jump in, or we can finish this up right now. You choose. But anyway, this is kind of an Ask Me Anything as well. So I'll go through the builds that I have, and then I will answer any questions and whatnot. So, all right, so let's get into this. As I sit here in my living room, I'll move this back a little bit so you guys can get a more full view of what it is I'm trying to do. If the sound isn't that great, just let me know and I can try to move someplace a little bit quieter. But all right, so build number one. All right, so you'll notice that most of these are exactly the same. They're slightly different versions, but I wanted to show you what I've done. So here's rifle number one. Now this was started to be something like a designated marksman rifle, but it's only a 16-inch, so I didn't put an 18 or a 20-inch barrel on it. But this was built from a collection of parts that I had in my basement. So over the course of the years, I've been fortunate enough to get some parts through freelancing, but I've also been able to buy a lot of parts knowing that I'm going to have some different builds going on. And so I figured I'd finally get some of these lowers and uppers built out. And I'll show you kind of the evolution of how I went from this gun to the Gucci gun that I built with First Two Firearms over the past couple of weeks. So, all right. So, first gun it is 16-inch. I got the barrel through. I think it's an OEM barrel. It is 16 inches, chrome line, 1/7 twist, but it is a no-name brand. I got through, I think, a Brownell's Overstock years ago, and it was sitting in an empty box on my shelves, so that's what's in it. On the end is the Saker M249 from B.E. Myers. That flash hider is awesome. I won that in the Danger Zone raffle last year at SHOT Show. I think I got it for like $60 during the auction. It was one of those sleeper gems, so I picked one of those up. Also on the front end is the Streamlight ProTac rail-mounted. This is not the HLX version. The HLX version is on the other gun. But really digging the Streamlight lights these days. Surefire, just to put it on every single rifle for me is out of financial reach. So I'm keeping it on the Streamlights for now. Everything is built on a Geisley I think it's Mark 4 rail. Yeah, the Mark 8 rail. It is the M-LOK version. It's got the Magpul rubberized M-LOK, peel in place hand guard things because my hands are very, very sensitive and I don't want to burn them. But I really kind of dig these cheap Magpul hand guard helpers. I'm not a product designer. John Knipe can sue me later. So we've got the B5 systems, the blue grip stop, embrace the radius. This is from B5, and Nate Murr was the developer of this. I've loved the grip stops, and it was really nice to be able to be provided one of these by B5 when I was out at NRA. So I wanted to make sure that gets on here. So Geisley rails, really, I try to put them on almost every gun that I have just because I believe in Bill Geisley and the attention to detail that he puts into his rails. Yeah, they're a little bit more expensive, but you get what you pay for. You buy once, you cry once, right? So on top, Vortex Strike Eagle. Now, I know I'm going to get a lot of junk for, it looks like my tripod's slipping a little bit, so we'll straighten that out a little bit. The Vortex Strike Eagle, 1-6. Great value optic, It is not going to replace your really high-end stuff, but like I said, for me, I'm buying a lot of these parts myself, and I don't have a ton of money. I also know that I am not sinking a ton of money into rifles. I'm not anyway serving. I'm not in law enforcement capacity. I'm not in the military. I don't do this professionally. I just like to have guns that I have fun with, that I shoot a lot. So what you're going to see, and I'll get a lot of shit for it, is this Burris pepper mount. Now, I've had this mount for years. I think it came on the first optic that I had, which was a Burris 1-4, and it's fine. So I put it in. Are there better mounts out there? Absolutely. Whether it's Geisley or LaRue, but this is what I had kicking around when I did this build. So I threw it on there, and I've been able to shoot this really, really well. We'll see if it fails or not. I have no problem replacing the Burris mount. I'm not in bed with it 100%. It's just what I had. The upper itself is a War Sport upper. So Matt Helm was able to send me this War Sport upper. I was looking for just a generic upper for a build, and Matt was generous enough to send me the War Sport upper, the stripped upper that I was able to put into this. The charging handle is I believe this is a BCM Gunfighter charging handle. I could be wrong about that, but that was in my parts bin, again, without a box, so just collecting random parts over the years. And then the lower is a Bushmaster lower. So the dogs are going to start barking because that's UPS. Now, UPS is delivering... All right, guys. So, you want to see them? All right, look at this. This is what they do. They just kind of run around. I got 2 boxers and a Roddy. That's enough. So UPS is outside delivering some M-Lock pieces right now. I'm not going to take you downstairs, but that's what they're delivering. So the lowers themselves are Bushmaster. This is a Bushmaster stripped lower that I put together. That's enough, guys. Bushmaster stripped lower, and I got a couple of these for sale. I want to say they were like 65 or 70 bucks a piece online a while back, and I was able to snag a couple of them, had them delivered, and it was during one of the panics I was able to pick up a couple of those lowers. That's enough, guys. The trigger, as always, is a Geisley SSAE. So, as we once again play with the tripod. So the trigger itself is a Geisley SSAE. I try to put this in every gun that I have, stay consistent with it all. Grip is standard. I believe it's a Magpul grip. Maybe it's just a grip that I had kicking around. But standard grip. And then Magpul Mo SLS stock that I picked up not too long ago. Do I need the storage in it? Nah, not really, but it does have a great cheek weld. I'm really a fan of their SL stocks, and you'll see that I put that on a bunch of my rifles. So overall, that's the 16-inch gun that I built. Now, I put this thing together myself. I am not an armorer. I'm not great. I don't have all the tools. But I was able to put this together relatively quickly, an hour or so, whatnot, putting all the pieces together. So I'm sure that I didn't stake things correctly. I did, I staked the castle nut just fine. I did not dimple the barrel when I was putting the gas block on. I don't have those tools. So what I'll probably do is wind up taking this whole thing into Nate at First Do Firearms and having him do a once-over, maybe resetting some of the pieces, making sure that the gas block is on correctly. Because for those of you that haven't built a rifle before, if you don't get that gas block on correctly, then 9 times out of 10, you're going to have some level of short stroking or poor gas performance in the gun itself. So do yourself a favor and make sure that it's put on correctly. Gas block is one of those overlooked systems in the gun itself. People concentrate on looks, but they don't think about the function. So make sure that it's all kept up correctly. All right, so that's a 16-inch gun. Now, the other gun, the Gucci gun that I just built, is a 14.5-inch version. I kind of see this as the upgraded version of that last one, but it has significantly higher end components in it, and it was put together flawlessly by Nate at First Do. So kind of again, top to bottom on it. This build centered around a 14.5-inch proof barrel that Proof Research sent out to me, and carbon fiber barrel. Really high-end stuff. I have not shot a lot of proof barrels, but the weight on it was noticeable. So starting with that proof barrel, I knew that I had a Sandman S coming in. It was just approved by the ATF on the 26th of July. I'm waiting for my stamp to come in. Hopefully I'll have that next week. But I put the dead air brake on the end just to prepare for the fact that that can is coming in. Again, a Geisley Mark 8 rail. These are just phenomenal rails. Again, if you are joining late, that's exactly what I have on my other gun. So this is the 13-inch version. I have the 15-inch version on the 16-inch gun. So can never go wrong with a Geisley rail. Pay a little bit more, but it is quality that's worth it. Moving down, it is just an arrow upper. So, you know, people get all wrapped around the axles on their upper choices. But for me, I want an upper that's solid, that's made from a reputable company, and isn't going to break the bank. So all the components on this, with the exception of that proof barrel, are components that I purchased. So once again, budget being in the forefront, I wanted to make sure that I was buying the best quality parts for this build. So I got an arrow upper. I actually got a couple of arrow uppers during the panic buying a few months back, you know, right before the election. So I took an arrow upper and use that as the upper receiver. Lower receiver is a Noveske chainsaw that I got. I mean, Noveske, you know the quality. Chainsaw, I've never had a problem with a chainsaw lower at all. You know, you can never, I can never find the blemish that would cause it to be a chainsaw. But I know I'm getting Noveske quality, so I put the Noveske chainsaw lower on it. I also have the Geisley Maritime bolt catch. Really, really dig the size and the texturing on the Geisley Maritime bolt catch. So this is the first time we've put it in a gun that I own, and I mean, immediately you can tell just how aggressive the texturing is on this. So it's a phenomenal bolt catch from what I can tell so far, but we'll see as I start to run this gun through its paces if I like it or not. The safety selector is a badass 45-degree throw, ambidextrous safety selector. So I threw that on. I've got the standard on one side. I've got the short on the other side. And I'm in love with these. I have it on my SBR as well. Really nice to be able to manipulate that regardless of how you're shooting the rifle. Grip is a Magpul Mo SL. Again, you know, it's a grip, right? But I really dig the texturing and the size on the Mo SL grips. So if you're in the market, check these out. You don't have to stipple anything. You don't have to play with any sort of grip tape. Just go with the Mo SL. And I didn't get any kind of storage in the bottom because I'm never storing anything. The stock itself, Magpul SL stock, it is the non-storage edition, a slimmer profile, as you can see, versus the storage version, which is slightly wider. So I picked this up because, like I said, I really like the profile of this. Threw a QD on the other side. I made sure that I moved it to the strong side, because that's how I run my sling over it. Other pieces. Optic is a Trijicon 1-6 TR24. It is the amber triangle reticle. Now, this is the first Trijicon optic that I've had on a gun outside of an RMR. This is the, the slightly older version, but, Trek over at MDFI gave me a deal that I couldn't refuse on it. So, was able to pick that up. No batteries necessary. It's got the tritium on the triangle for super low light conditions, or when you're not getting any light into the fiber optics. So it's going to take a little bit of getting used to look at the yellow triangle versus a red dot. Like I said, this is brand new. I haven't really shot this a whole lot, but when I was zeroing with it the other day, I really did like the sight picture that I saw, and that amber triangle really does burst out. So I'm not professing to be an expert on why this is better than the Strike Eagle. I do like the fact that it does not have any batteries. I like the fact that the turrets have a capability to set 0 on it, but I do need to get a throw lever for it because the Strike Eagle, I put the throw lever on. It's just so much easier to switch between magnifications. So I'll wind up putting one of those on here as well. Now all of this sits in a LaRue quick detach mount. LaRue quality is LaRue quality. So you get what you pay for. You know, I'm not going to put something like a spur mount on this. Obviously, it's a little bit overkill. I've thought about going with the Geisley mount, but again, I had the LaRue sitting in my parts bin. I purchased this a while ago, knowing that I'd wind up putting some variable optics on my guns. So I put the LaRue mount on here as well, the SPR 1.5, if you're looking for the model number. So overall, you know, I'm super, super happy with the way this came out. I mean, Nate was really patient with putting this whole thing together at First Do Firearms, and I can't thank him enough for helping me assemble the gun. Like I said, I can put guns together myself, but it's not the same as when you're getting a dedicated machinist, a dedicated gunsmith to really do things properly with the right tools. You can absolutely kludge things together in your basement, but if you're anything like me, you just don't have the years of experience of putting the guns together. Now, if you do have an armor certification, great, good for you. But if you are a hobbyist like me and you're looking to get a little bit more education, I do have to plug the fact that First Do is hosting William Larson, probably the Yoda of gun assembly. He's going to be coming up to Maine in September, I believe that is. And you can go to First Do Firearms on Facebook and check out all that and get the tickets for it. And it'd be a great armorer's course for you. So that's the overview of the Gucci gun. Now, like I said, I took it out to 0 it the other day, and once I did get the optic dialed in, I was stacking rounds at 50 yards out here in the backyard. I'd like to confirm it at 200 yards. So when I do get to a place where I can shoot 200 yards, I will absolutely do that because you've got to verify that full 0. So make sure that you're doing that as well. All right. So that's kind of the overall build. Like I said, Gucci gun, and then the more budget 16-inch variant of it. So I may wind up swapping out that M249 Saker flash hider at the end for another dead air break, just because that can is coming in hopefully next week, and I wouldn't mind having the 2 different setups. So you've got the kind of budget version, and then you've got the slightly higher end version. So we'll see how these goes. Now, in terms of light setups, I told you I had the Streamlight rail-mounted ProTac on there. I'm going to be putting the same thing on here. I was just waiting for those pieces that UPS just delivered to get the M-Lock rail sections for the end of this. And then I'm going to be throwing on that 1000 lumen HLX onto this as well. I believe it's 1000 lumens. I could be mistaken. But I've got the HLX. I'll run the tape switch on top right now in what Streamlight provides, but those are kind of crappy mounts. I'm going to wind up getting one of those cloud defensive tape switch mounts for the top rail as well. So eventually I like to see a mall on this, but you know, I'm not into night vision just yet. So that is the overall build. Now, if anybody has any questions, I can start reading this, but I was just kind of trying to take you through both of the options. For those of you that want to drop off, you can, but you can feel free to ask me anything. I can talk about anything on the gun, why I chose the pieces that I chose. It is not a casting couch, but you know, why don't you just have a seat right there? So this is what it looks like on the other side of the casting couch, for those of you that were wondering. So if only you knew someone who was into night vision. Yeah, no, dude, I know you're into night vision. Believe me, I'm saving the pennies. And before you start chastising me for building yet another rifle and not buying night vision, there are quite a few things in my safe that are going to get sold to hopefully fund either a PVS-14, or maybe we can get some dual tubes up in this piece. Who knows? But That's basically the reason that I wanted to come on today. It is humid as a mother here in Maine, and it was pouring outside, and I had nothing else to do. So here comes the rain again. It's like on cue I was able to do that. So, hey, Victor, thanks for joining, man. Hi, Victor. Shouldn't you be doing something like building a lightsaber and whatnot? But so yeah, so like I said, if you're a hobbyist and you're looking to get into building ARs, or if you have a question about quality, stay away from the forums to the degree that you can. There are some great places to go to get really, really good. Let's see, PVS 14 in a mall is what you ought to do. Yeah, that's probably exactly the way that I'm going to be going on this. But if you are building a gun, stay away from the forums. There's a lot of good quality stuff out there. I mean, I'm seeing 69 Colt 6920s now for anywhere between $5.99 and $800. If you're in the market to buy something, even as a base platform or a someday I'll upgrade this gun, now's a great time to get it. You don't have to build everything from components like I did. You can absolutely do it by building a lower and then buying a complete upper, or you can buy one of these, kind of budget ARs and then upgrade as you go. Me personally, I'd stay away from some of the lower end stuff, like buying Palmetto State uppers, or some of these no-name brand uppers. And I'm not necessarily decrying what Palmetto State does. In fact, I had a rifle, a PSA rifle that I brought into Nate, and we worked it over a little bit, made sure that everything was staked correctly and the gas ports were aligned correctly and everything was Loctited where it should have been Loctited. And then we threw a new rail on it as well. I threw a Midwest Industries lightweight rail on that. So I went through that the other day with Nate, maybe in a previous video. I think it was last week. You might have seen that. So if you're looking to build it, and I know there's a lot of guys here in my little neck of the woods that aren't necessarily big gun guys, but they're getting into it, or they purchased a gun from a friend, or maybe it's a Stag Arms or a DPMS or something like that. Bring it into a gunsmith, get it checked out, make sure that everything runs the way that it should. I know that one of the things that came up on this build was I had a bolt carrier sitting in my parts bin, and I forget where I got it. Again, it was one of these like, hey, do you want to trade this for that? And I got a bolt carrier group. Never really taken a look at it. I just threw it in the parts bin. So when I took it into Nate, we determined that it was an older, like late 90s Bushmaster style bolt carrier group. And the reason that it looked a little bit different is on the underneath, on the bottom portion of it, it just looked like two rails. It wasn't a solid piece. And I'm sure I'm not using the right terms, but bear with me, get it, right? So we took a look at it, and understanding, after doing a little bit of reading and understanding and asking some people what it was, the Bushmaster bolt carrier groups from the late 90s did unnecessary wear to the hammer as it went through the firing cycle. So we replaced that with a Sons of Liberty Gunworks bolt carrier group. So super solid. If you know Sons of Liberty Gunworks, Michael Mahalski runs that, and again, another guru on this platform. Make great hardware. So I was able to pick up a Sons of Liberty Gunworks bolt carrier group, and that's what's in this as well. So if you want to get into some of the specifics, I put an ALG Defense lower parts kit in this. The trigger itself is not the trigger that came with the lower parts kit. It is yet another Geisley SSAE. Again, I'm running it the same on every single platform because I like that consistency. So the buffer spring is a Springco blue, and then the charging handle, I'm not sure if I mentioned this, charging handle is the Geisley Super charging handle. So a lot of Geisley components on this. I actually got a Geisley gas block, the Super gas block, to put in it, but I had forgotten to give it to Nate. He had a Psionics gas block, another great quality gas block in stock, so he put that on here, and I'll just save the Geisley gas block for another build at some other time. So again, those are the components. A lot of Geisley went into this. I'm a huge believer in their products. I don't get paid for them. I don't work for them. I don't take pictures for them. Nothing. But I just absolutely love the quality of their stuff. So that is that build. All right, let's take a look at some of the other questions. I can only assume some casting. Man, the casting couch thing comes up a lot. You know, this is not black patent leather. This is brown, and it is significantly different from the casting couch. And believe me, this is not my first time. All right, so let's take a look at some of the other questions that might have come through here. Got a lot of folks joining on and off. E-Rock joined. Hey, E-Rock, thanks for jumping in. Nate, so hey, Nate's on here. So plugging for Nate. Now, this is, once again, not a paid advertisement, but it is something that I believe in. So Nate is here in Sabattis, Maine, and if you need work done, man, I've shot with this guy for years. He started up First Do a while back, and I'm happy to bring him a ton of business. One, he's a phenomenal guy. He's a firefighter most of the time, but he also runs First Do Firearms. He's a lifelong machinist. His dad's a machinist. This guy knows his way around metal. So if you're looking to get some work done in New England, in Maine, make sure that you at least give Nate a look at First Do, because super nice guy and has a nice clean shop. You can't go wrong. So head on in there, support local business, right? So let's see who else is in here. Once again, the PBS 14. All right. And biggest Nader. I'm not going to tell you anything about the casting couch. Let's see. So the proof barrel weighing in at something less than a small block engine and something slightly more than a business card. I did not weigh it, you know. In fact, I should probably throw this entire thing on a scale. My guess is with the optic, this is coming in somewhere around 6.5 pounds. I think that's about what we had it weighed out to be at Nate's shop. I just kind of threw it on there. It was somewhere right around the 6 pound mark before I put the optic on it. I know the optic is a little less than a pound. I think it's like 12 or 14 ounces. So with that and the mount, I'm guessing it's somewhere between 6.5 pounds. So, you know, I could have gone with a lighter weight rail. I could have gone with a red dot optic. I could have gone with a lot of things to shave weight, but not really that concerning to me. It's 223. I mean, I'm not shooting a 50 off of my shoulder, right? So if you are really going for lightweight builds, there's a lot of options you can get out there. If you are just out at TriggerCon, I wasn't there, but if you go out to TriggerCon, you know, some of the innovative companies, or the folks that are calling themselves innovative, are out there doing skeletonized everything and super lightweight this and super lightweight that. That's all well and good. But the fact is, I like a little bit of heft to my gun because, you know, it's a rifle. You're shooting things that go really, really fast. If you can't lift a 6 to 7 pound rifle, then maybe you should just stick with pistol. Now, I understand the reason why you want something lightweight, but you know, there's a balance to be found. You can really strip things down, and then you may have some issues. What I would like to see in lightweight stuff is, you know, the things that like Robar does, the polymer AR. Right? That is truly a lightweight gun. Runs great. I believe it's somewhere around 5 pounds, 5.5 pounds, something like that. So if you're going lightweight, you know, really go with a lightweight platform from the get-go. Don't try to just keep slimming it down and keep slimming it down. You'll eventually compromise it. So if you're thinking about, you know, building a gun, plan it out, right? That's what I did. I got a whole spreadsheet. It took me a while to compile the parts, but I did have them in my parts bin, and all I did was say, all right, well, I've got this spring and this lower and this upper and, you know, this receiver and whatnot. And I just waited until I had the components that I wanted to put in it in the bin, and then I just kind of brought it to Nate and had him assemble it. So As Nate says, really don't think the proof barrels come in much less weight than a lightweight pencil barrel, just much more rigid. Yeah, I think that's the big part of it. You can go on proof research for the 14.5-inch version of the 5.56 barrel, and our 223 Wild barrel is actually what it is. And go on there and get the actual specs. You know, I'll wind up giving them to you incorrectly. So, yeah, like I said, I took it out. We did run a couple magazines through it. Now, when I was doing the zeroing process, my range is exactly 50 yards. So I had some 69 grain match ammo, federal match ammo that I used to zero all of my rifles, just to make sure that I'm taking as many of the variables out of the equation as possible. You know, a lot of these ammos that you get, whether it's remanufactured, which is what I use a lot of, or just factory ammo, it's going to be wildly different depending on the gun. So it's always good to go through a couple of different types of ammo, figure out what shoots best out of your gun. So Nate started using the Springco buffer springs, and yeah, the blue is great, man. I put the blue in everything. So that's in the 16-inch gun, it's in the 14.5-inch, it's in my 11.5-inch SBR. Can't say enough about the springs. Have I ever worn out a regular spring? No. But you can absolutely feel, at least I can feel, in my completely uneducated opinion, the difference between, you know, just a stock buffer spring and the Springco springs. And they have different colors depending on the type of gun that you're running with, but I haven't gone wrong with blue yet. So this is my first time using a lot of these components. But back to the zeroing process. I went through and I used those 69 grain match grade rounds to do the primary zero. And like I said, I was stacking rounds when I finally got the Trigicon all dialed in. But then I grabbed some PMC X-Tac ammo that I have, I don't know, 500 or 600 rounds. So I grabbed a box of that as well. And threw that into the rifle, and it didn't like it very much. Now, I'm not slamming PMC, just wasn't running well out of this rifle. So my group size went from literally a cloverleaf hole to a much larger group. So I don't think it was anything that I was doing. I wasn't standing up. I had everything on sandbags on my bench, so eliminating as many of the variables as possible. So should be evaluated via GP size. Hey, Jim, thanks for joining in, by the way. I appreciate that. So, yeah, I mean, springs, there's a lot more to springs than I know, and someone like Jim is absolutely going to be the type of guy that you need to talk to when you're putting a spring in your gun. You know, Jim or Nate or Mike Mahalski or Will Larson, I mean, these guys really know what they're doing. I'm just a guy that mainly takes pictures, and I try to know a little about a lot, and so this is what I went with in the gun. So when it came down to the zeroing process, just make sure that, you know, you don't go out and zero and you have the one box of ammo or the one bag of ammo that you have and think that that is going to be the best thing that performs in your gun. Because if you are buying different ammo, especially like me, if you're looking for the best deal all the time, you may wind up getting different ammo all the time. And you mix and match it in some ammo cans. So if you find something that works well in your gun, make sure that you segregate it from your other ammo and that you keep it there. So you're not just grabbing rounds and then you start shooting wildly. So accuracy is everything, right? It's not necessarily about the speed, it's about the accuracy. So as you start to get into this a little bit more, if you do have questions, find somebody smarter than you, please. I am certainly not the guy that is going to give you all the answers. Like I said, I'm a hobbyist. I shoot a lot, as much as I can, but I don't profess to be an armorer of any sort, which is why I bring my guns to other people that do know what they're talking about. So that all being said, that's kind of the setup. Now, there's a couple of other guns that I do want to bring in and get worked over that I've had, that I've built. And one of the things that I noticed, maybe I'll bring it up to the group here. So I don't have the SBR with me, but I was out at Gunsight last year. I've got an 11.5-inch SBR that I built. And I was out at Gunsight last year, and Recoil happened to be there. I wasn't working for them. I was writing a piece for Breech Bang Clear and Recoil. But Ian Harrison was out there with Jason Swar, and they were doing some video at the same time that I was out there. And so they got some slow-mo video of me running the SBR, and what they noticed was that as the gun cycled, the charging handle came out and slid back a little bit, slammed back in when the bolt carrier group went back. So I've been trying to determine if, and now this is a Raptor charging handle that I had in the gun. This is a Geisley, but I had the Raptor charging handle. So I can't determine if the upper had lost a little bit of material and the tooth wasn't grabbing, or if the tooth itself had worn down. So that's something that I have to look into a little bit more. I believe it's the charging handle that got worn out and is causing that problem. So I'm going to actually throw this Geisley supercharging handle in that SBR and see if it continues to do that. I'll set up my cameras, take a little bit of slow-mo, and see if that problem is still there. If it's just the charging handle, boom, easy fix. If it's the upper that has lost a little bit of material, which I've never seen happen, it's about the charging handle weight. Okay, so I'll make sure that I check that out. My first guess is that it's a charging handle problem, so I'll wind up swapping that out as well. Other issues that I've found, not a whole lot really. Like I said, I probably put 5 or 6 or 7,000 rounds down range during the course of the year as I try to take classes and do my own shooting. That's not a lot compared to a lot of guys that shoot quite a bit, but given the amount of time that I'm able to get out of the studio or get off the road and do shooting for myself, it's probably around that 5 to 10,000 rounds a year max. Now with pistol, it's a different story. But anyway, that was it. If there are any questions, hit me up here. Thanks for sticking around for as long as you did. That's the Gucci gun. I'll probably do a couple of pictures this weekend so that folks can see the actual components in it. And then, if you have any questions, let me know. It's a gun. It's a tool. I'm not looking to get it Cerakoted. I'll probably rattle can it at some point and throw it in the back of the truck. Because if you're not out shooting and you're treating these things as tools, then what are you doing it for? If you're just having safe queens that you'd like to put on Instagram, that's one thing. But me, I like to get them dirty. I like to run my guns hard and find the failure points, not only for the equipment, but for myself. So with that, stay safe, man. Thanks for everybody for coming by, and I'll catch you on the flip side. Later.